Welcome back and thank you for staying with All Angles. Now, the birth or adoption process is not an easy one, and it's even more difficult for members of the LGBTQI+ community. Recently, one couple found themselves in a tricky situation, having to prove their parental rights in court after going the artificial insemination route. Now, medical fertility and law specialist Adele van der Walt joins me now for some insight on this particular case. Adele, I understand that the law firm that you are also a part of helped in this huge change in our constitution, that judgment coming out yesterday. How are you feeling about bringing such a huge change to the LGBTQI community?
Hi, Masehu. I think this is a landmark case. The ruling helps a lot with legal certainty. This is for legal certainty for the female same-sex couple, but also legal certainty for any child or children born from such a relationship.
And I just want to bring the viewer just up to speed with regards to this. This case is between a couple, both female. They went the artificial insemination route. And Adele, you can correct me if I'm wrong at some point. They went the artificial insemination route. They fell pregnant with twins. Unfortunately, when their relationship didn't work out, the twins were then expected only to be the responsibility of one of the mothers. Am I correct? And the other mother was left out in the cold.
So just to help you with that, Masehu, so what happened here is the couple is not married. When we sit with a female same-sex couple that's married, it's more simple from a legal perspective. We see often with female same-sex couples that they're in the situation. So both parents wanted to have equal parental rights and responsibilities. They approached our firm and asked for legal advice. We work with these kind of matters on a daily basis with fertility law. As you've explained, it's artificial insemination, but the other option that's also available for female same-sex couples is embryo transfer. And this is different from male same-sex couples, because with a male same-sex couple, they've got the route of a surrogacy application to High Court and then obtain a court order for parental rights and responsibilities. So we've always had this for male same-sex couples, but the female same-sex couples were always in the dark, so to speak, because the common law is indicating that the mother that's giving birth to the child is being regarded as a lawful parent. Yes. That left the other partner in the cold because she had to adopt the child or children all along. And with this ruling, it's changing it. It's reading in the word life partner, where it was always a requisite that Section 40 of the Children's Act referred to married couple. So this is changing the law, and it gives 2 years' time for the Parliament to change legislation, and if they don't change it, it will become law automatically.
And obviously this also is a huge win for the LGBTQI+ community, especially because so many of our laws we still have to change, right, Adele? Upon realizing that we are not including them still. This is obviously one of those lessons that we had to learn legally.
We work with different scenarios with fertility law. I think what is important with this judgment as well is it also went one step further with retrospectivity with regards to this law also being applicable for couples up or back until 27, so they can opt or decide whether they want to acquire these rights. It doesn't automatically then vest in the parties before this judgment, but they can obtain it, and that's very fair in all the parties with regards to fairness and inclusivity.
What I also find interesting is that as the respondents, both the Ministry of, for instance, Social Development and the Ministry of Justice and Correctional Services or Constitutional Development did not necessarily go against your application. So it means that they also saw somehow as government that particular law had a fault.
It also has a cost implication, surely. So the first route was to approach the High Court where the applicants are residing, and that was in Gauteng, and then obtain a court order, and then thereafter to the Constitutional Court. We also had an amicus curiae on board. That is just a friend of court. It's Latin wording. And somebody can join in proceedings like that to provide further submissions to court. And they actually brought this whole aspect of retrospectivity, and it's included in the judgment, and we welcome that.
And I think, Adele, one of the most important parts or the important stakeholder in this entire judgment that we haven't discussed, you and I, is the child or the children in these types of families, that this is a win also for them to be able to have both their mothers, take care of them and not have to keep going to courts to adopt and applying at Home Affairs, etc.
I think the challenge that we have to accept with these kind of scenarios before we had this judgment is that when you have a female same-sex couple with a birth certificate once baby or babies are born, for them to go to Home Affairs, they've got a standard document that they fill out, and there needs to be a male and a female registered on the documentation. So this created problems all along, and this judgment is assisting the female same-sex couples in this regard. And I think it makes it easier. You can just imagine what challenges they have with the adoption process thereafter. And now, especially with these clients, we advise them not to register the babies, they are twins, on the one mother's name. They are going to do the registration now finally after this judgment, and both parents can have or obtain equal rights.
I think for me, Adele, what this shows is that our Constitution, as young as it is, it's still growing. It's actually doing well in terms of, particularly when it comes to at least the LGBTQI plus community, because we're one of the only African countries that, or rather one of the first, we even signed it into law before the US that allowed same-sex marriage and things like that. So at least it shows that our Constitution embraces the rights of everybody else. And it's good for a Friday to discuss something like this, to show that our Constitution works. So thank you very much for speaking to us. That was medical fertility and law specialist Adele van der Walt.